that's not enough. Our country is in decline. We see it, we feel it. I don't think that that decline is inevitable. I think that that decline is a choice. It's a choice we're going to make over the next 18 months as a country and as a people. I am not content with just simply managing the decline of this country a little bit better than the Democrats. I'm running for president because I want to reverse the decline of our country. I want to give this country a new birth of freedom, and together we're going to be able to get that done. We know that we need to go in a much different direction than we have with Bidenomics. I mean, think about a working family. Interest rates are high. It's hard to afford a home. Automobiles are as expensive as they've ever been. Price of groceries, all the necessities have gone up dramatically just in the last few years. That is not a recipe for success for people to realize the American dream. I was a blue-collar kid growing up. My parents were working-class folks, worked hard, and I did minimum wage jobs to put myself through school. I worked every job under the sun, and the reason I did that was because I believed in America. If you work hard and get the most out of your God-given ability, then you're going to be able to succeed. And I think we're losing that as a country. So we need to restore that, and we need to have an economy that works for everybody. We also need to ensure that we're not empowering the Chinese Communist Party with our economic policies. I want American jobs and American business and American industry. I don't want it all going over to China. We're in a great battle with that system. We need to win this battle, and we can't have anything short of that. That's very, very important. We're also going to deal with this issue at the southern border once and for all. A country has got to maintain the territorial integrity of its borders, and yet we don't see that under this administration. You've seen millions and millions of people come through. We have human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, and this fentanyl has affected communities in every corner of these United States. We have tens of thousands of people dying from fentanyl overdose every single year now. That's unacceptable in this country. You know, the president mentioned COVID and the response, and yes, Utah did it right, Florida did it right, but our federal government did it wrong. And our federal government's guidelines and policies, the CDC, NIH, FDA, they did a lot of damage throughout this country. Places that lock kids out of school for a year, that is incalculable damage to those kids' upbringing and education, and yet nobody has been held accountable for any of that. We're going to bring a reckoning about those COVID policies. We're going to be holding the CDC, NIH, FDA accountable for the damage they did, because if we don't do it, they're going to try to do it again, and we can never let this happen in our country ever again. We're also going to ensure that we restore our military to its proper function. I'm the only veteran who's running for president this year, and I'll be the first president since 1988 to be elected who's actually served in a war. And having served in Iraq alongside having served in Iraq alongside Navy SEAL Team 1 back in Fallujah and Ramadi and all those wonderful places at the height of the Iraq campaign, you develop an appreciation for what wearing the uniform means, not just for the people you serve with who were patriotic. And at that time, it's an all-volunteer force in our generation. There were people signing up to be Marines, signing up to be soldiers, knowing they were going to get sent to Iraq, and yet they still wanted to do it. So I had a great appreciation for the people who were doing it, but it also gave me an appreciation for the people that have sacrificed for us in the past. And now, a lot of veterans come up to me and say, I would not want my kids or grandkids to serve in today's military because they see things like the Navy using drag queens to recruit. They see an obsession with things like DEI. They see an obsession with things like climate change in the military. Let me tell you, China's going to get the job done. If they got to burn coal, they're burning coal. They're going to get the job done. And so we've lost our way on that. And so we're going to go back to mission first. We're going to have a military that's lethal, ready, and capable. And we are not going to let political agendas cloud the accomplishment of the mission. And that happens on day one as Commander-in-Chief. We also are going to be on a mission to restore the integrity to our constitutional system. Our founding fathers designed a system with 3 branches of government. They did not design a system with a 4th branch, an administrative state that is unaccountable to the electorate, that wields power with impunity, and that ultimately is making major decisions for our country that our elected representatives aren't taking part in. We need to reconstitutionalize the federal government. We're going to wield Article 2 power to make sure that the bureaucracy is brought to heel. We cannot have these agencies weaponized against people that they don't like, and yet you've seen a massive accumulation of power in D.C., no accountability, human nature being what it is. Our founding fathers would have said, of course you're going to see that power abuse. So we're going to end the weaponization of government. You're going to have a new FBI director with me on day 1. You're going to see major changes in the Department of Justice, and all these different agencies are going to become answering to the American people. The bureaucracy for far too long has imposed its will on us. Now we, the people, are going to impose our will on it, and it's about time we do that. And I'm fortunate to be able, and there's many more things we're going to do, and we're going to be rolling out. We did roll out our big military policy today in this week in South Carolina. We're going to be doing some more stuff coming up. A lot of really good stuff. We're going to continue to do it. But at the end of the day, you got to be someone that can actually get this stuff done. And what we've been able to do in Florida is everything we said that we would do, we delivered on. Voters are used to electing people that overpromise and underdeliver. I think that's kind of the standard that typically happens. Now, we made bold promises. We governed in bold colors, not pale pastels, but we not only answered all the promises, we exceeded our promises and what we were able to deliver for the people of Florida. So yes, we are now ranked the #1 economy of all 50 states by CNBC. Utah may be 1 in some, but bottom line is, we are the top, and on almost every indicator amongst large states, we're #1. We functionally have unemployment that doesn't even register because anyone that really wants a job can get a job in the state of Florida. We just paid off this week an extra accelerated $400 million of debt repayment. That saves us $23 million for taxpayers on interest costs. Since I've been governor, we've actually paid down 24% of our state's debt. So we have less than $17 billion as a state for an economy that's $1.2 trillion. If the federal government can manage that way, we would be riding very high, let me tell you that. So we're proud of being able to be great fiscal stewards of our state. We're #1 in new business formations. U.S. News and World Report recently ranked us #1 for education. And on all these important battles that we fought, where you have leftist ideologues trying to take over institutions, we've beaten them on things like ESG. We've beaten them on education, where our schools are teaching normal education, not political indoctrination. We've beat them on illegal immigration. We've beat them on DEI, eliminating that from our colleges and universities. We beat them on school choice. We've done massive vocational education. We've beat them on crime. Our crime rate is at a 50-year low. So ultimately, leadership is not about building a brand. It's not about chirping. It's not about any of this other stuff. The only thing that really matters is you got to be able to deliver results for the people that you represent. And in Florida, we have delivered big results time and time again, and that's exactly what I will do as president. But here's the thing. None of this stuff matters if you don't win the election. And our party has developed a culture of losing over the last many cycles, where we're losing races that we should be winning. Yeah, in Utah they're winning. Yeah, in Iowa they're winning. In Florida, 22, that red wave that was supposed to happen across the country happened. It happened in Florida, I'll tell you that. We swept all this stuff. So it can be done, but we just got to have no distractions, none of the other side things. We need to focus this election on Joe Biden's failures and how we're going to be able to put America on a better path. And that's exactly what I will do as the nominee, and we will ride that into the White House and be able to get all this stuff done. So I'm honored to be here. I'm excited that we had so much great support from the legislators here in a really, really well-run state, the state of Utah. We've also been able to rack up a lot of great support in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, far above any other candidate in all those areas, and we're doing everything we need to do to be able to bring this home. At the end of the day, we're not getting a mulligan on the 2024 election. No excuses on this one. We need to get the job done, and I will make it happen. Thank you all. God bless. You guys have any questions? Yeah. I mean, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. It's totally outrageous. You guys can look on the website of the Florida Department of Education. You know, they got a lot of scholars together to do a lot of standards and a lot of different things, but these are the most robust standards in African American history, probably anywhere in the country. Anyone who reads that will see that it's very thorough, very factual, and for them to try to demagogue it, look, that may have worked in the past. Nobody's buying their nonsense anymore, and so she's going to come down to the state of Florida and try to chirp and try to demagogue. All she's doing is ignoring the responsibilities that the administration has to secure our border. They're failing at that. They're not developing enough domestic energy. They need to. They're not doing what we need to do to counteract China in the Pacific. And so on and on it goes. They're dropping the ball. So it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to do that. But this board, they got these people there, and they really were very thorough. So I would just encourage everyone to read it for yourself. Yes, ma'am. Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. But the reality is, all of that is rooted in whatever is factual. They listed everything out. And if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education. You can talk about those folks. But I mean, these were scholars who put that together. It was not anything that was done politically. Anybody else?
Governor, why Utah today? Your poll numbers behind President Trump have been pretty substantially behind.
Not here. Now, look, I think at the end of the day, it's a state-by-state race, and so that's how we've set everything up. We are focusing on Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and then as we get into Super Tuesday, which of course is Utah, and that really requires being on the ground. It requires building out the organization, and we're doing that, and we're doing that better than anybody is doing that right now. We really, I think most of you saw last Friday, we were in Iowa for the Family Leader Summit. That really was the kickoff to the caucus season. And so now people are starting to pay more attention to it. I can tell you, having been in Iowa that weekend, we were able to garner a lot of additional support. I think we've ended up, we've gotten like 35, 37 endorsements from legislators in the state of Iowa, which nobody's ever remembered anything like that happening. And so we've got great momentum there, and then we'll be in those other early states. We were just in South Carolina this past weekend, but suffice it to say, we're garnering support. We're going to continue to do that. Nobody is going to outwork us. And at the end of the day, I think our voters realize we're not getting a mulligan on this one. We need somebody that's going to be able to go in there, that's going to be able to defeat Joe Biden, that's going to be able to actually serve 2 terms. Because I think if you look throughout history, our presidents that have been the most consequential have all been 2-term presidents. I mean, if Ronald Reagan had only served 1 term, we probably wouldn't have defeated the Soviet Union. If you look at other presidents there, so it's really important, I think, to have someone that can serve 2 terms. People get that, and we're off to the races. So this is getting exciting, but we still got a long way to go.
Governor, you had 92 people on your payroll, according to your filing last weekend. You had to lay off about a dozen of them, and
So first of all, we don't do consultants, so we do everything in-house. So yes, some people would not have some of the people we have, but they'd also be paying a lot more money for the consultants who charge a lot. So it's just a different model of doing more in-house than doing consultants. You know, you can have there, you can raise money online, which we've done very well at. Do you want to give 10% of the cut to somebody when you're doing that? No, we'd rather pay salaries for people to perform a function and do it. But at the end of the day, you know, all that stuff is background noise. None of that stuff really impacts people's lives. And the reason why we're running is to reverse the decline of this country and get us back on a strong footing where we get a new birth of freedom and opportunity, and America is at the top again. And that's what we're focusing on every single day. We're going to be doing coming up and I've teased this in everything I've done, but we're going to put together kind of the vision for the economy. You know, some of it will be based on all the success we've had in Florida, of course, but there's a lot more to do when you talk about our national economy. So we look forward to being able to articulate that vision that I think has been sorely lacking in this country, and I think will really answer the call. And we're also going to be doing a big rollout on national security. And again, I've talked about in bits about the threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party. How do you deal with that? That's our top challenge for this generation. They really represent the type of competitor that we haven't seen in a long time, because if you looked at the Soviet Union, yeah, that was a nuclear confrontation, military confrontation, ideological confrontation.